Welcome, everyone. Today is June 1st, 2026. This is the Town of Victor Zoning Board of Appeals. If you would join me for the Pledge of Allegiance. Pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America, the republic for which it stands, one nation. Hey, welcome, everyone. We're all present. A few housekeeping matters. The emergency exits are off to the side. Restrooms are in the lobby area. If you haven't done so already, please sign the attendance sheet at the back of the room. There's also some business cards with the planning department's phone number and email address. Also at the back table, a copy of the proposed resolutions with the agenda. If you haven't done so already, please turn off your cell phones or silence them so as not to disturb the meeting. If you have any conversations that don't specifically relate to the application itself, please take it out in the hallway so as not to disturb the applicant or, for that matter, the board while we're conducting the hearing. Some other ground rules. When the applicant is speaking, what we generally do is we wait for the applicant to finish, and vice versa. What we would appreciate is, while we're talking, is the applicant to just hold it a little bit, because Amber over here is taking minutes. And if we're talking over each other, it makes it difficult for the recording and for Amber to figure out who's saying what, but generally she does an outstanding job. So let's not make her job any more difficult than it already is. If you have exhibits that you want to talk about, just let us know. Susie over there will pop them up. There is a pointer table. Use your pointer. Use descriptive language. Try and use compass direction structures. Try and avoid things like, if you see over here, if you notice over there, it doesn't translate very well for the minutes themselves. So descriptive language helps. If you have a new exhibit, let us know it's new. We'll gladly take it, look at it, mark it, and put it into the record. All right, with that, we'll continue on with the agenda. We have minutes, May 18th, 2026. Hopefully everyone has had a chance to review. If someone is ready to make a motion for approval, I would accept that.
Make a motion to approve?
Matt, a second.
Second.
Thank you, Leah. All in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Carried. Great, thanks. All right, Fairways is tabled. Dravek is up next. Hello, Mr. Dravek.
Hello, how we doing?
Good, how are you?
Good.
You gave us what we were looking for, the location of the shed, as well as an instrument survey to give us an idea of what kind of things that are going on out there. If I could just summarize quickly, and you can certainly add what you need. You got a flag lot. You're deciding on a 10 by 12 shed?
10 by 12.
Okay. No electric out there.
Nope.
Where the location is on the exhibits you provided us, it is indicated that there's a septic system out there, a geothermal system. Looks like some vegetation is going to be helping buffer the location of the proposed shed. You got a topo map that helps us out. I didn't say it already, you got a flag lot. So, anything else you want to add or tell us about it?
The only other thing, and I do have an email, I think I got it late this weekend, is just from the shed company. I know we mentioned quickly just last time, the sheds come pre-made, and it'll ruin any warranty if they do have to disassemble it, so they do not offer that. And again, just to confirm, it does come on like a gooseneck with a dually, so that's the primary reason for the shed variance, is that they cannot deliver it to the back of the property.
Okay.
Because of the septic, the geo, and then on the other side of the house, even to get around, just with the wetlands and the slope.
Super. All right. If there isn't anything else, we'll go down the line. Matt, questions?
Nope, I was there Saturday. I'm good with everything.
Okay. Larry, questions?
I was there this afternoon, and I'm good with it.
Okay. Leah?
No question.
Was there a couple weeks ago? No problem.
Okay, there we go. So you've all made a visit. Super. All right. So that information helps us out, again, quite a bit. Again, location, instrument, and the challenge of the lot. It really helps looking at that, the topo map, that you really can't do much, even though the depth of the lot, you distance, trees, it just doesn't make a whole lot of sense to do.
No, and I have learned as each day goes by, there's probably less and less I can do behind the house then.
Just for clarification, that the markings that you have on the photograph, the aerial photograph that you gave us, the 88.45 feet, that's to the right-of-way road. It's not to your property line.
No, I believe that so
That's
This-
to your
is this
property line.
88?
Okay, there we go. Because
Yes, that's-
it's cut off on the picture.
got it.
There we
Yes,
go.
that's property line, not road line.
Okay, great. That's clarification all I need. We're good. Anyone from the public want to speak for or against? We did have one, hold on. Mr. Aldrich seems to be in favor of it. I don't think there's anyone else that opposed it. So we can make that a note in the resolution. So if everyone's ready, we can walk through the criteria and the justification. All right, an undesirable change would not be produced in the character of the neighborhood or detriment to nearby properties created by the granting of an area variance. Justification being, we have a flag lot. The topo map provided indicates that the property is further challenged by its topography. There's a septic system, there's a geothermal system, it's the wetlands, it's a wooded lot. We're looking at a 10 by 12 shed, no electric, with some existing vegetative buffer. Would anyone like to add or comment on the justification for the first criteria?
Nope.
All right, hearing none, we will continue on. Benefits sought by the applicant cannot be achieved by some method feasible for the applicant to pursue other than an area variance. I think we can mirror the justification for the first criteria, as those justifications seem to apply here. Anyone like to add anything else to the second criteria? The requested area variance is not substantial. I think primarily, we're looking at a flag lot, and the distance that's provided, the applicant has provided, seems to be sufficient. It doesn't appear to be substantial. Anyone like to add or comment on the third criteria? Fourth, the proposed variance will not have an adverse effect or impact on the physical or environmental conditions in the nearby property or district. We haven't heard or seen anything that the placement of the proposed shed is going to have any kind of impact whatsoever on the physical and environmental conditions of the neighborhood or district. Anyone like to add or comment on the fourth criteria?
Should we mention the email from the neighbor?
We have, I don't know if that's really on the physical or environmental conditions. We could put that up there in the first, let's add that to the justification for the first criteria,
Okay,
all right?
fine.
Fifth, the alleged difficulty is self-created. I'm not hearing any need for conditions. Anyone? No, we're good? All right. And I think we're ready for a motion for approval.
Move to approve.
Larry, a second.
Second.
Leah, any further discussion? All in favor? Aye. Any opposed? Carried. Thanks so much for your cooperation and patience with it.
Yeah, of course. Thank you, guys.
Good luck on your project.
Thank you. Just now, so do I need anything else from the shed? people? know,
Just to approve building permit. Did you
Permit.
submit an application? I can't remember.
No, you know what, I'm not gonna buy it until I got everything approved, so I will, so it's just a permit I'll get from the
Yep.
company?
Accessory structure permit you would get from our office. Amber, or myself could probably email you the application.
Okay,
Then you would just basically resubmit the documents that,
yeah,
right.
Okay.
Show the shed location with complying with your area variance,
okay.
and then we can approve the permit, and then you're
Okay.
good to go.
And what was the name of that form?
Accessory structure.
Okay, perfect. All right, sounds good.
Good.
Thank you, guys.
Thanks
Have a good
much. Have a
night.
good night.
Thank you.
Right, next, the Contola application. Hi,
Hi,
and you are?
David Cox with Cox Engineering, the civil engineer for this project.
All right, you're representing the owner, correct? And what we have here is both the single-family dwelling and driveway within 100 feet of the federal wetland. So, why don't you start, and then I think after you're done with your presentation, I think we're going to ask Adam a couple of questions about, there's some history, I think, that we need to know as far as those wetlands go. So maybe you're going to answer it, and so let's find out. Go ahead.
I might. If you could go to the next, the site plan, the more blown up view, that one, perfect. So we have a 100 acre, we're here for a single family house, which is kind of in the north middle part of the site. The wetland is right here along the northeastern property. So when we first started this, we weren't sure if it was going to be a New York State DEC or a federal wetland. So we were waiting in that process, but we now have received confirmation that it is not New York State DEC, it is just a federal wetland. So there's no buffer requirement around that wetland. But the town still does have a requirement that they don't want impervious surfaces, within 100 feet of wetlands. So we still do need it, even though there's not a New York State DEC buffer around it. And just to kind of walk you through why we did what we did. So we put the driveway kind of as far south as we could, as far away from the wetland as we could. As you can see, we're grading pretty much to the property line, the southern property line. So we pushed that driveway as far to the south, as far as away from the wetland as we could. And then one of the other requirements is the septic system. So per Department of Health guidelines, septic system needs to be 100 feet from the wetland. So when you draw a 100-foot line around the wetland, this is pretty much the only part of the site that is under 20% slope that we could put a septic system. So that is where the septic system needs to go, and that did get approved through the town. The town engineer reviewed that, and also the Labella witness the perk test and deep hole for all that. So that kind of sets where the septic goes. So then we gotta put the driveway as close to the septic as we can without, going on top of it. And then that leaves this little pad site up here to the north for the building. And right just to the west of it is where it starts to get steeper. So this hill gets a lot steeper, so we really can't or don't want to push into that. So we put it, as far away, the building as far away from the wetlands as we could before we get into that really steep slope. So if you start to get in that steep slope, that's when you're going to start having to remove a ton of trees or cut things. Or if you tried to put the building, 10 feet further up in elevation, town code is driveways can only be a max of 10%. So if you raise the building up 10 feet vertically, you need another 100 feet of driveway. Another 100 feet of driveway, you're going to have to start doing an S-turn, and you'll start taking out even more trees, disturbing a lot more. So we really looked at this to maximize the distance from the wetlands, but also preserving as many trees as possible. So that's kind of why we've outlined and laid things out exactly where they are. So the proposed house is approximately 61 feet from the wetland, and the driveway is approximately 62 feet from the wetland at the closest points. Well, that wraps up my presentation.
Okay. Adam, anything you want to add?
From a code standpoint, no, there's nothing I have to add. I guess I would be curious, when you were going through the jurisdictional determination process, what did the DEC provide you any reason why they showed any kind of interest, understanding that they don't have jurisdiction of that wetland? Did they cite any kind of environmental, feature or?
So the DEC originally was thinking that they might take jurisdiction under the previous ruling where the DEC in urban areas could take wetlands, under 12.4 acres. So that ruling was reversed. So now DEC can only take wetlands that are 12.4 acres or larger. So they do not have jurisdiction over this, where the previous law they could, but that got reversed a month or two ago.
So they didn't offer any kind of why, they just were like.
Yeah, just that it was in an urban area, so gave them the right to take jurisdiction over it was
Okay.
their reasoning.
They just said, you can, so we will.
Yes.
Gotcha. That would be all. I was just, it's not really a code thing. I don't form an opinion. I was just curious, how that all worked out,
Yeah.
because we don't see much of it on our end.
Yep.
Thanks.
And I do have a letter from the DEC saying that it's not jurisdictional for DEC.
Hey. Matt, I think we're going to start with you, since you've got a little
Okay.
more engineering experience than we do.
So what is the slope right now on the driveway design?
10%.
Right now, it is at 10%?
Yes.
Okay. So was that, because it kind of flattens out as you get towards the house, so the whole driveway, though, itself is not
Right, yeah, just
10%, so how is that kind of?
at the very bottom, it's a little bit flatter at the road, just because
Yep.
you don't want, if the driveway's icy, you wouldn't want someone sliding out into the road. So it is a little flatter there, and then it's 10% all the way up until you get towards the very top, where they're going to be pulling in their garage or parking their vehicles. So that need to be a little flatter.
So once you get to like the 772?
Yeah.
Okay. With the steep slope behind, it looks like there is still like room available. Was there any thought to trying to take the house, slide it any farther back, rotate it a little bit more at an angle to get around? Like, I guess I'm just trying to understand a little bit more the overall design thought that ended up with the house right where it is in the drive, just a little bit more
Yep.
in
So,
that regard.
one of the things we wanted to do on the back of the house was at least have a little bit of a flat area with a swale, so that all that water that's sheeting off that steep slope, that it wouldn't be directly hitting the house. So we wanted to have a little bit of flat area and a swale, so that the water would sheet down the hill, hit this little slope, this little swale, and swale around the house, so that we wouldn't be introducing stormwater runoff directly against the house.
Okay. So then from all of your, I'm just looking at it then, the house will have roof drains, I'm assuming, and
Yes.
then pushing out to the side, so then everything then is gonna kind of drain down directed towards the wetland, is that?
Right.
Okay,
That's correct.
okay, that was a couple current questions for right now. I circle back around a little bit more, but.
Larry, what do you think?
Help me out with this. The closest area to the wetland appears to be in that, I'm sorry, I'm looking at the larger one. Is it the larger one, or is that the same one I'm looking at?
That's the same, I think that's the
That's
same
the
one.
same one?
Yep.
Okay. So where the garage sticks out, the edge of the garage, right? Up a little bit further, right there. That's the closest to the wetland. Is that correct?
Yeah, that wall is for sure.
Okay. how much did you talk about maybe flipping? I'm not sure I even know what my question is. What happens if you move the house back?
So that, as I was saying, this hill is a lot steeper here. So if we push the house back into that hill, you have to do one of two things. You either start cutting into the hill and then you gotta chase your slope back. And this slope is steeper than 1-on-3. So typically most proposed grading is 1-on-3. So if you did 1-on-3, you end up having to clear all the way to the property line to try to catch up that slope. So you'd be taking out all those trees, or if you try to, pick the house up elevation-wise and move it back, that's where, the driveway would need to get, longer, which there's just not room to make the driveway longer without incorporating S-turns, and then when you do S-turns, it's gonna create a lot more grading, a lot more
I'm not
disturbance.
great with these, but if I look at the house,
Yep.
it looks like the back of the house is in the 772. Right?
Yeah,
And then there's a small piece of 774, and then the 772 continues.
you're talking existing grade or?
Existing grade. Is that what I'm looking at?
770,
See, this is 7072 here, right?
76.
That's 76? How
Yes.
did you get to 76?
Yeah, 76 is at that back
So if
corner.
you're 76.
76.
So that,
But this is 774.
proposed.
That's proposed, okay.
Yeah, the
got
dark
it.
is proposed, the light gray, yeah, so that's down 2 feet from existing.
Yeah, so we're already cutting it in some.
I don't have any other questions at this point.
Yeah.
Let me absorb this.
Let me just go back to the wetlands. I just want to make sure I understood it right. So New York State DEC did not take jurisdiction over this?
That is correct.
Correct. So is it designated to federal?
Yes, it's a federal
Federal.
wetland.
Okay, so with federal, so I'm assuming then it's the Army Corps of Engineers
correct.
that has it. So is there anything, what is the Army Corps saying?
Yeah, so the Army Corps took jurisdiction over the wetland, but no permits are needed if you're not disturbing the wetland. So as long as you're staying away from the wetland, not disturbing it, there's no permits that are required.
No. And do they all, but they say you have to be 100 feet away?
Nope.
No, that's just town
That was
code.
if it was DEC and,
Okay.
and the town.
In the town code,
Yeah.
okay, just wanted to clarify that.
Yep.
Now, with the house, I'm just wondering if instead having it, up on the property, if you shifted it down, close, like shift it down, like where the proposed septic tank
Okay, down
area
here?
is. Yeah, is that, was that something considered, or is that not feasible? Because I'm looking, then you might be that 100 feet away. You might meet that.
So the problem with that though is if we put it where the septic is, then there's not another place to put the septic, because the septic has to be 100 feet from the wetland.
Oh, the septic also has to
Yeah.
be 100 feet.
Yeah, so that's pretty much the only area that's
Okay.
100 feet away in a area that's less than 20% slope.
And that's per Department of Health, that's nothing
Correct.
that the zoning board can grant a variance for, just so
Correct,
you're
yeah.
aware. Yeah.
Okay. Okay, that's all I have for now, Mike.
That's a
Can
question.
I go back?
Oh, yeah, sure, go ahead.
Just to follow up on Leah's question. If you but couldn't you put the septic where the house is? And then because of the fact that the wetland slides down, goes straight and then goes down further, isn't that enough feet? I mean, because obviously the end of the house is not, the end of the house from the, on the other side of the garage is more than 100 feet from the wetland, is that correct?
So, yeah, this corner might be close, but this corner is steeper than the steeper grade over there. That wouldn't be, so you would have to put the septic pretty close to where the house is, and that is within the 100 feet, because the house right there is, 60 feet, so 100 feet, you have to put the septic kind of behind the house, essentially.
And what does that do?
It is, you can't, that's too steep. Can't put this,
Steep?
yeah, too steep.
Could you run through the requirements for the septic and
Yep.
what you specifically have to meet so we can understand why it can or can't go on certain parts of the property?
Yep. So the septic cannot go on steeper than 20% grade, which is pretty much almost where that tree line is, right there, is 20% and steeper back in there. So can't use any of that area for septic. And then you got to be 100 feet away from the wetland. So, I mean, that takes a huge chunk out of the area as well. So that's why that little corner here meets the less than 20% and also 100 feet away from the wetland buffer, or from the wetland.
So you could put it where the house is.
No, so there's not enough room, so I think we have, let me see, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. There's five
So the septic
5
is
rows
over
of septic.
here.
There's just not enough room to fit it in and still be 100 feet from the wetland.
Does it have to be square?
That's the geometric shape because you're running the lines, they're pipes, so they're running straight. You can't, yeah. That's the general, yeah. For it, and then with the slope.
All right.
More questions? Larry?
I'm sorry, no, I'm sorry.
Chris?
What's the square footage of the house?
That is a good question. I think it was around 2,400 square feet.
2,400, so it's, okay. Right size for that lot.
Yeah.
Two-story or single-story?
That was including the base, so 2 stories. It's
So
got, it's a walkout, so the basement level's a walkout, it is including the 2,400 square feet.
Okay.
All set.
All right, I understand. It's a challenge lot. The wetland, and the distance from the wetlands, it's put there for a reason. And there's some concern both the state and feds have with getting a building too close to wetlands. Is that fair to say?
Yeah.
So, for the runoff from the house, what, if any, environmental impact is there from runoffs, gutters, your roofs, whatever, and then getting into the wetlands?
Yeah, so there's quite a bit, so with it being at least 60 feet away on some parts of the house, are closer to 100. So it's got a lot of time to flow through the grass area, and the grass can help filter it out, it can infiltrate and kind of help treat the water before it hits the wetland area.
So for whatever bio life is in there, birds to fish, I don't know specifically what's in there, I didn't dive in there, but something is living in there, right? And to disturb it with rainwater, something that hasn't touched it for years and years and years, potentially is going to have an impact. But I'm not feeling comfortable enough, I guess, with if it's going to go down for some 60 odd feet, it'll percolate, it'll be different than what is coming right off the roof, but you
Correct.
can't really tell me what, if any, negative impact is going to have on whatever life is in the wetlands. And I don't know how you find that out, other than saying, we're going to mitigate it to the degree of it won't touch the wetlands. We're going to divert it to some other place. Is that possible?
Yeah, that would be possible. Yeah, there could be a swale put in on this downhill side that would direct drainage around to the culvert to under the driveway, so that it would prevent that water from flowing to the wetlands.
Part of the reason is for not building driveways and structures and things is to have minimal, or for that matter, no impact on the wetlands, and there's not a lot of them out there. Right, so to try and preserve them as best we can, I think we should make efforts to not have any kind of impact on there. I know there's no guarantees to where something may get in there, and I would think that's going to happen with the driveway as well. If there's a slope and it's higher than the wetlands, potentially runoffs can go into the wetlands. And I guess unless you tilt slope the driveway away from the wetlands, or you create, again, some kind of mitigation feature, so whatever runoff is happening from the house into the driveway is going to go into the culvert, storm sewer system, as opposed to touching the wetlands.
Yeah, so a lot of the driveway, the majority of this driveway will not flow to the wetland. It'll flow along here and then go south, because this is higher and then the south is lower. So north high, south low. So a lot of this driveway drainage is actually going to flow to the south. It won't actually make it to the wetland. So the only, maybe a little bit of the driveway right near the house potentially might be able to get close to it, but the majority of the driveway wouldn't be able to flow towards the wetland. But for the house, we could absolutely put a swale in to direct that drainage to so that no impervious surface would, any of the drains from any impervious surfaces would not make it to the wetland.
Any kind of idea what the cost on that would be?
For the swale, probably just maybe $1,500, $2,000.
No, just out of curiosity, that would be less expensive than, say, conducting the roof drains to like a dry well?
Yes, yeah.
Do you have a comparison in cost-wise, just as they're exploring possibilities of ways to mitigate?
Yeah, dry well is probably in the $6,000 to $8,000.
Okay.
Right now, with your plan, including the swale, sounds like you're open to it.
Yep.
How many trees are being removed?
I think there was 38 trees.
38? All right, so could you formulate some kind of idea that if you could comply with the code, how many more trees, what kind of cost, what kind of impact is it
yeah.
going to be to that land to get that done? Because part of our, I think part of our criteria is there a feasible way to do it? So,
Right.
softball for you.
So yeah,
What would it take?
yeah, to move the driveway and the house back the 100 feet would disturb all of these woods back here. You're probably talking over 100 trees.
More trees.
Yeah, would come down. And the cost would probably be $60,000 or $70,000 for the grading and to remove the trees and
Okay.
everything.
So how many trees you think? 175 to 100?
Yeah, 100.
Okay. So and what I'm trying to drive at here is the impact of complying with the code, the cost, taking more trees out, as opposed to minimizing, if not hopefully even eliminating, any kind of runoff from that house into the wetlands and leaving those wetlands alone,
Yeah.
right? Okay.
In that regard for like mitigating it, the plans call out gravel driveway. If we're inclined to approve it, would think that would want to be a condition, that the driveway then wouldn't get fully paved in the future, because by being gravel versus asphalt, it helps to mitigate any runoff and anything else going for the wetland too.
A gravel driveway, is that what you're
That's what-
suggesting?
Well, it's already called out as a gravel driveway, so just maybe making that a condition, because that would then mitigate, reduces runoff a little bit by being gravel versus asphalt.
So that was left up to the owner, whether they wanted to pave or not. So I would hate to put that restriction on the owner if he really wanted to pave the driveway.
If that swale system, whether it be gravel or asphalt, would that swale assist in pulling the water from the driveway down the swale into the storm sewer as opposed to leaching, and I mean, it's a bad word, leaking into the wetlands?
Yeah, so absolutely, the swale would prevent any water from the driveway entering the wetland.
This has to go to the planning board too, right, Adam?
Yes, yes, it does.
We have to wait for the planning board?
I don't have to wait for the planning board, it just has to go to the planning board before they can start building.
All right, so they'll comment on it as well.
Yeah, if the zoning board were to grant an area variance with the condition that, you know, the roof and driveway stormwater will be mitigated by a swale, then the planning board will just have to ensure that your plan complies with the condition of the zoning board. So, you know, alteration to your grading plan, showing the swale.
So you're comfortable, do you need you're the prospective homeowners? No? Neighbors, okay, I will ask you in a moment. Have an idea your clients are okay with the swale being there?
Yep. Good with the swale.
And if by some circumstance, the swale wasn't sufficiently diverting the water, you know, handling the water from the house into the swale, into the storm sewer, if it needed to be improved or taken care of so that wetlands are not being impacted. You follow my question? It's
Yeah,
like,
yeah, that's
it's
absolutely
like
fine.
whatever they need to do, there's all different size swales, depths, whatever, but it needs to be taken care of, that if that swale isn't sufficient, it needs to be such that any kind of rainwater coming from that house isn't going into those wetlands. It needs to be deeper. They're going to put an addition on, whatever the case may be, that swale has to be able to handle whatever that stormwater is away from the wetlands,
Yeah,
right?
good with
Okay.
that.
Anyone else have any other questions before we,
Actually, I do.
go ahead.
Help me out with at the bottom here, there's a wooded area. It looks like a triangle.
Yep.
Okay. Could the septic go across? I mean, could you take out those woods and put the septic there?
I guess,
Then move the whole house? Now,
you talking here?
yes. Now, when you're looking at, I know what your answer is going to be, it's going to take out a lot of trees. But how many trees would you take out, and then how many trees would you be able to put back of the 38 that you're going to take out for the house?
So you have to be, the septic has to be 10 feet from the property line
Okay.
as well. So when you start pushing it down, it starts squeezing down the septic. So then you'd have to have, I don't think you have enough area to slide it down much, just because you get, because it starts just narrowing down.
And it couldn't be turned?
No, the septic has to go along the grade lines. So they have to be essentially flat. So the contours run in this direction. So that's the way the pipes have to go. You know, if they flowed downhill, all the waste would flow to the end and wouldn't be very effective. So it's got to be relatively flat.
What other areas did you think about putting the septic?
So I originally did down here, before we knew that that was a wetland. So this area was flatter, would have worked great for wetland, or for the septic, but then once I found out that that was a wetland, that you don't meet the 100 feet requirement from there.
So based on that, then, did you have another design, prior to knowing there was a wetland, did you have another design done that had greater impacts to the wetland and much less of a buffer? So once you found out there was a
Yes.
wetland, you didn't just present the plan then and ask for that plan, you've now gone back and tried to mitigate
Correct.
even further? Okay.
Yeah, so originally, the septic was here, and the house was a lot lower, like pretty much right off the back of this wetland. So then when we found out about the wetland, that's when I had to move the septic up here, push the house way back. So, yeah, definitely had to revise things once I found out about the wetland.
And I know you can't speak for the owners, but wouldn't the wetland have been disclosed at the time of purchase? of the
We
land?
didn't know it was a wetland. We didn't know there was a wetland there.
Oh, okay. Would seem like a pretty big disclosure.
It was not, it wasn't a mapped wetland, so it wasn't a federally mapped wetland or anything, so.
I don't have any other questions at this time.
Anyone else? Anyone from the public want to speak for or against the application? Come on up, so we can hear you, and tell us who you are.
Corey and Melissa Allen, we are 175 Baker, which is essentially directly across from this lot. It is a challenging lot, and this was determined at the very first meeting, which, when we identified it as a wetland, as a community. As a neighbor, understanding that you've got to have that 100 feet between the wetland and the house, I would ask you to consider not chasing that slope up the backside. It's a very dense hill, and just removing that amount of trees as a neighbor would be extremely disheartening. So it's a lesser of two evils. Is it less than 100 feet, or do you decimate hundreds of trees to go up that slope, which is exactly what's going to happen? So I would just ask the board to take that into consideration when again, looking at those two options of it's not quite 100 feet, or completely rearranging that hill and losing even more trees.
Right, and I think that's what our discussion is if we can figure out, engineer a way so that whatever runoff from that house has little to no impact on those wetlands.
Yeah.
It sounds like it's a lot better than taking out 75, 100
Because
trees.
he's absolutely correct. I mean, that's pretty dense woods up there, and to chase that slope all the way up that to the property line would be taking out all of those trees, you know.
You're
That's
to
not-
the east?
We're directly across the street. Is that east? So up on the hill
So
across 175?
north is to the top, right? You'd be to the east
Yes.
across.
Correct, directly across the street.
Okay, great.
So unfortunately, we can't hear you while you're in the audience.
Melissa Allen. On the first drawing,
Yep.
yep, so we're directly across.
Directly across Baker Road.
Yep.
How long have you lived there?
We've,
6 years?
this is our 6th year.
You happen to know when the area was designated a wetland?
No, but our neighbor to this board identified that the first time this was brought to the board. The first
Okay.
meeting. I think it's been commonly known amongst the property, and it's, there's a history to that property. The son and the daughter have owned that. Son-in-law and daughter have owned that property. They have a small, what would be identified as a small house, a cabin at the top, and, you know, they've owned that for quite some time.
Yeah, so
this
that
is
property was recently subdivided. The owners came in and basically subdivided this parcel off for their
Yeah.
parents. So it wasn't like a whole,
Which again, as neighbors, I
Yeah.
just want it to be recorded with. We have no problem with this, but I just would ask the board to consider, you know, it's the lesser of two evils on a challenging property. Which is worse, the closer to the wetlands or deforesting that entire area
Okay.
to chase the slope up the hill? So,
Understood. Thank you.
thank you so much.
Any more questions? Susie, anyone? No? Okay. What's your time frame? Because I ask, because I'm going to ask the board is, how important is it that they know where that swale is before they make some kind of determination on either granting or denying the variance.
Yeah, so I can, so if you go back to the more blow-up picture. So there's this swale that kind of comes around the building, and then that swale will follow that tree line all the way, and then there's a culvert under the driveway. So then I'll go into the culvert and head south. So pretty much right along that tree line is where that swale is going to be.
All right? What do you think, Matt?
I'm good. If we have it as a condition, I'm sure Wes and the planning board can handle it as part of site plan approval.
The planning department, condition on the planning department's approval and the swale being there?
With with the swell being there.
Right, okay. Larry, what do you think? Not sure?
I'm not sure.
You need more information? What else do you need to know? 'Cause if we need to have other questions or something the applicant can provide, I think we certainly entertain it.
I've just got to decide what's more important to me.
Okay, all right, we'll come back. Leah?
I'm fine, and I just want to revisit, because we talked about the driveway being paved or not paved, and I understand that's something that, the owner, may or may not want. Is that something we want to put as a condition possibly, that it remained unpaved?
Well,
I wouldn't feel
knowing enough
comfortable.
about the engineering piece of it, I think with whether it's gravel, correct me if I'm wrong, gravel is going to be better for the environment as opposed to asphalt, right? Just in a general.
Yeah,
Okay.
you get a little more absorption through the gravel. A driveway does get pretty packed down, so it gets pretty hard as well. But it does absorb a little bit more than asphalt does.
Right.
But with the swale there, whatever runoff from the driveway and the slope of the driveway as it is, whatever water runs off of that driveway that starts to lean towards the wetlands, the swale's gonna catch it
Right.
before it gets into the wetlands, or it's gonna go south off the driveway and it's gonna have less impact.
Correct.
Me personally, I'm not concerned as long as that swale is there and it catches it. And it's the homeowner's responsibility to make sure that swale is maintained, not blocked, and have minimal, if no impact on that wetlands is primary. That's how we look at the driveway.
Okay.
Right, Chris, what do you think?
Oh, that's a good idea with the swale. I like that.
Right. All right. You need some more time, more questions?
How does one make sure that the homeowner's maintaining that swale? Who would be complaining?
Well, frogs and turtles, I know, that's a jest. That's a good question on how do you find out, the non-signing code enforcement officer out there to say, oh my gosh, it's the wetlands have been, whether it be expanded or they're damaged or conservation gets in there and says, this is a mess. I think it's a lot too like a lot of conservation easements that we have in the town that you can't expect the code enforcement officer to run all over the place and say, oh, you just took a limb down. But if you got neighbors, what have you, to say, it's not right, it's different, then there's code enforcement has to go out there and say the swale isn't being maintained and fix it so you're not impacting the wetlands. Beyond that, we don't have any wetlands police.
So prior to us issuing a certificate of occupancy for the home, we'll verify that the grading is compliant with the approved site plan. The approved site plan is set in stone, right? So say 3 years later, we get a complaint about that wetland and we go out and we find that the swale had been eliminated or isn't functioning properly, that site plan, we still can hold them to that. They have to comply with their approved site plan, or they'd have to go back to the planning board and get a new site plan. And then their variance would be, they wouldn't be meeting the condition of their area variance. So there's ways, it's certainly not like we were driving up that driveway once a month to check
Oh, no, I
the swales
understand
there.
that. I understand it, but I just wonder if it, and again, I'm not saying that, you know, the homeowners would actually do that, but, you know, by the time someone brings it to someone's attention, is that wetlands disturbed enough that, anyway, if you have the swale and the gravel driveway, I'd be okay.
I'm thinking through it.
With the swale, I'm okay with not the gravel, just from my own personal standpoint, I would be okay with the pavement, with the swale there.
Right now, they're going with the gravel. And it's up to the homeowner at some point if they want to put an asphalt driveway in. But you're of the mind that that's a condition you'd like to see in there?
Yes. Am I the only one, or?
I'm going to go down the line. What do you think about it, gravel to asphalt?
I'm on the fence
Okay.
with the gravel.
Yeah, I wouldn't want to impose that, you know, because, for instance, I like having an asphalt driveway. I think a lot of people do. I would hate to put that restriction on someone, you know, living in the town of Victor, nice, brand-new house, you know, if they wanted to pave their driveway, to tell them they can't pave their driveway.
Okay. What do you think?
The swale takes care of everything, and then the slope of the driveway away from the wetlands makes it even better.
Okay. I think when would you like to break ground? I know, yesterday.
Yes, we would, but we still need to go to planning, but I mean, they were hoping to hit this construction season, for sure, so that's-
Okay. I think I would recommend, because we have some that are saying, you know, just gravel, and a few are like, we're okay with asphalt. I would feel more comfortable if you could go back to the homeowner and saying, is that a deal breaker? If you're good with just the gravel, I think this is going to go a lot smoother. If they say, nah, maybe someday we want asphalt, I think that's something we'd have to weigh, take a closer look at on whether or not the board wants to, if you will, dig in and make that a condition.
and
May I ask a question just to speed this up? If we say gravel, can they come back for a variance and ask us to change our minds?
Change the condition?
Yes.
What you have to do, and I hear you, if you're going to put a condition onto a resolution, it has to be tied into the variance itself. I think you have an argument to say, well, if it's asphalt, potentially there'll be runoff, and potentially there's going to be some kind of negative impact to those wetlands. I find it hard to imagine what kind of negative impact it would be from the driveway, but I can see a plausible argument that, I don't know how many gallons come off of a roof that's, 2,400 square feet, but a lot. And it's got to go someplace. And oftentimes, when it comes down, last thing you want, at least I would think, you want it to have a negative impact on the wetlands. I think a driveway's different, the way that it's sloped. The swale, they're agreeing to put the swale in. So have a minimal impact just for the driveway itself. To put that condition in there, to just gravel, seems to be, for my opinion, a push, an unnecessary push. So, hold the thought a second. Ready to vote, or you want to?
Yeah, we're ready to vote.
Okay. You good? Anything else you want to add?
no, I'm good.
Okay. All right, so what we're going to do, when we get to the condition, the condition is just for the swale itself. Right now, we see the planning board has to approve this. We're going to go with, not a condition for the gravel driveway, it's up to the homeowner to make that decision at some point. If they want to keep it gravel, then great. If they don't, that's up to them. So let's run through the justifications for each criteria. All right, first, an undesirable change would not be produced in the character of the neighborhood or detriment to nearby property created by the granting of the area variance. The engineers provided us with a detailed topo map, and it's a challenged piece of property. This is determined that it is a federal wetland. The DEC does not have jurisdiction over it. And we'll put it in a condition later, but we'll also add in here that the engineer is willing to put a swale to the, looks like to the northeast, to the north and east, and then allowing that stormwater from the house to avoid the wetlands and go into storm culvert, right? It's not a sewer, it's a culvert. Let's also add that while currently this project appears to have about a tree loss of approximately 38 trees, complying with the code would be approximately 100 more trees and potentially $70,000 more if they were to move the house west and cut into the sloping hill. Septic system is also an issue that septic system can't be within 100 feet of the wetlands, so the location of the septic system is also driving the location of the house. All right, would anyone like to add or comment for the first criteria, justifications for the first criteria? Okay, let's go to the second. The benefit sought by the applicant cannot be achieved by some method feasible for the applicant to pursue other than an area variance. As indicated in the first criterion justification, that moving the house further up the hill to the west would be more costly and lose more trees than if the proposed location what they have. Would anyone like to add or comment on the second criteria? Third, the requested area variance is not substantial. The engineer has provided on the topo map and also the willingness to put a swale in to minimize, if not eliminate, whatever runoff and eliminate a negative impact to the wetlands. Would anyone like to add or comment for the third?
At what percentage would it be considered substantial? Personally, I think 38% is substantial.
Well, it is, you look at the intent, the purpose of the code is to protect the wetlands. Mm-hmm. If the wetlands are going to be minimally, if not impacted at all, then arguably it's not substantial. Correct. It's not so much the distance, it's what's the intent of the code that's trying to be achieved.
Okay.
Okay, fourth, the proposed variance will not have an adverse effect or impact on the physical or environmental conditions in the neighborhood or district. As indicated in the first criteria, and the justification is primarily the issue of the willingness to put the swale in and to be maintained by the homeowner so that minimal or any runoff from that house be eliminated of an impact to the wetlands. I think is sufficient that it won't have any kind of or minimal impact to the physical and environmental conditions. Comments, questions on the fourth?
Should we also just put a note that in addition, the wetlands themselves are not being disturbed at all in the construction of this house
During the construction of the house.
during.
Is that what you're saying? It's not, once the house is constructed?
Right, that it's not, no wetlands are being taken out, or, I know we're dealing with what happens, to minimize future impact to the wetlands. But I think we should just put a statement in there saying that no disturbance is being done to the wetlands, I guess, during construction and by the placement of this house
All right.
and driveway.
You okay with that being conditioned that during the construction of the house and afterwards, there'll be no impact on the wetlands? So with the swale and care taken to preserve the wetlands?
Yeah, no disturbance to the wetlands, for
Okay,
sure.
let's put that as
And then
a condition as well.
for the criteria, just saying that the house and driveway septic are in the least impactful location to
Yep,
the
let's put that in.
to the
Yep, that's
overall
good.
environment.
We could put that in there. Anything else? All right, 5, the alleged difficulty is self-created. We have 2 conditions. The swale be constructed and maintained so that to minimize any impact to the wetlands, as well as during the construction of the house, and for that matter, excavation and installation of the septic system, the whole project, there will be minimal, if not any impact to those wetland areas. Okay, anything else to add? We did have a neighbor speak for the applicant of what's being presented. They would rather have it as presented as opposed to going further west and losing more vegetation and trees. All right, with that, I would entertain a motion for approval.
I make the motion.
Chris, second.
Second?
Thank you, Matt. Any further discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Motion carried. Okay, thank you.
Thank you very much.
Well done. Oh, wait, we got to put a condition. Did we have that in there?
Yep.
The planning board condition? Okay, well,
Thank you.
all right, thanks so much. Good presentation. Thanks for coming and your input. Anything else for the board to consider, discuss, talk about?
Move to adjourn.
All right. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye, carried. Thanks so much. Have a good night, everyone.